David Stokes, Show Me Institute policy analyst. I don't know, David, if I like agreeing with you more or disagreeing with you more, because it's so much fun to have you on the show, and I don't tell you that enough. So thank you very much for coming in.
I guess that's a compliment.
Yeah, I guess it's a compliment. This one,
I'll take it as one.
This one I know we're going to agree on, and that is Missouri is flush with money. We've got cash, baby, and so the legislators are trying to figure out a way to give it back to us.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Our Hancock Amendment would take care of that in numerous respects. But when you come out of a recession, like we have in the past couple of years, for very complicated formula reasons, the Hancock Amendment might not kick in for several more years.
Right.
So there's no automatic, unlike the late 90s where Missourians saw these like checks for like $12 flooding their mailboxes.
Right.
You're not going to see that this time.
Right. But they're thinking about new ways to sort of give us a tax break, if you will. And one of these ways is they want to give a tax cut. This is working its way through the legislature. They want to grant an income tax to everyone who has owned or who owned a residential property January 1st, 2014, which I am against on the sole reason that if you rent, you don't get a you don't get a refund.
Well, right. Under this proposal, you renters would not get
see the benefits
of that.
So we're picking winners and losers. Why do only some people get a tax break?
Well, yes, I agree with you to that extent.
Thanks. Now, next topic.
To some extent, he said.
It's your show. Yes, ideally, tax policy would give this money back to everybody. But as we're seeing in Jefferson City right now, they're having trouble agreeing on what level of a tax cut there is. And so there's plenty of people who don't even want a tax cut at all. And
right.
The governor has stated that he'll sign a very, very minor tax cut, even more minor than what got through last year and was vetoed. So people are trying to propose other ideas. And it'll be interesting to see what people come together behind in the next month. Now the idea of a tax cut, what would be, it's about $140 if it's a $100,000 home, is my recollection of doing the math on it. The idea that homeowners would get some sort of a cut on that on their income taxes, it favors homeowners over renters, but those are the people who pay the bulk of the taxes in Missouri, particularly in the suburban areas of St. Louis, St. Charles, and Jackson County, that's where in Missouri you get hammered by both high property taxes and higher income taxes. Out in outstate, you might have those higher income taxes, but the property taxes are so much lower. I think it's an effort to sort of level that field and give the tax break, at least in part, to the people who are paying the bulk of the taxes.
Well, okay, but the renter still pays property tax. That's just on his monthly bill. The apartment owner pays property tax on the apartment complex, the bulk of the tax, and that's then passed on to the renter. So while the renter doesn't necessarily fill out a tax return or a tax straight to the state, he's ultimately being charged for it.
True. That's all true. I would give one. There's a study out there, several studies out there, that show that property tax increases aren't always passed along at 100% to renters. If you get a homeowner and a tax increase is passed, you see all of it right away. With renters, if the building across the street has a couple of vacancies, you just can't automatically raise that rent. But for the most part, yes, renters pay property taxes in their rent. And yes, ideally you'd have tax cuts for all, but I think it's just it's a proposal to try and return some level of taxes to the people who do pay the bulk of the taxes in Missouri.
But the homeowner also gets probably one of the greatest tax advantages out there, which is the interest that he's paying on that home is tax deductible. My rent at the end of the month is not tax deductible, so I'm still paying the guy who owns my apartment complex's mortgage, and I'm not getting a tax credit for that, whereas I own my own home. The interest I pay on my monthly mortgage every year, that's tax deductible, so I'm getting a benefit from that. Now the state's going to give me a tax cut on my taxes, but the poor renter is stuck now twice.
Hey, you're dead right on all that. Yes, what we need in Jefferson City is broad-based tax reform for everybody. Unfortunately, we passed that last year, and it was vetoed, and they failed to override it.
Right.
And now they're trying to agree upon a tax package that will get that. This is just an idea to give a tax break to the Missourians who pay the bulk of the taxes. There are other tax proposals out there by other officials to increase the amount you get back for children.
Right.
So somebody without children, such as yourself,
right,
would also not benefit from that as much.
We get stuck once again.
Right. These are choices we've made at the tax level, at both the federal and state level, to encourage having children, to encourage home ownership. And I think I've been clearly on the record on this program and elsewhere. If it was up to me, yes, we'd have a flat income tax rate at the national level. We sort of have that at the state level. It would be lower, but it would still be flat. And we would eliminate a lot of these deductions. But this is the constant battle of somebody who works at a policy organization like me, you can't just sit back and let's have everything be perfect and just propose nothing that's perfect,
right,
and give no credit to the people in office who are trying to make things work and trying to reach compromise. There's nothing wrong with compromise.
Right.
And sometimes those compromises are good, but they're not great.
Right. But again, but then you have the politicians coming out and saying, "Oh, we voted for a tax cut." Well, you didn't vote for a tax cut for everybody. You only voted for a tax cut for some people. And the argument can also be made that if you own a home, you're in a better off financial situation than the person who's renting. So the argument with them, you're giving a tax cut to the more affluent, and when the less affluent would actually use that money to better stimulate the economy, if you will.
Well, I do think if you give a tax cut, everybody's going to spend it or invest it.
But what's if this proposal was we're going to give a tax cut to every single renter out there? How would that go over?
Well, I think there are lots of spending that we do in this state to benefit the renters out there. Think of the sales taxes everybody in St. Louis City and County pays, including people in West County who never use public transportation, and South County,
right,
to fund public transportation, which largely benefits renters primarily.
And we
can find examples all over the place.
Right.
Yes, it helps everybody, but it certainly helps renters on average more. And these are the sales taxes for public transportation. And we could find examples. Yes, I like low flat rates that benefit everybody, but I have sympathy and understanding for elected officials trying to get something through that will be good, but not perfect.
Right. Yeah. This will be interesting to see. Do you think this has legs to sort of get to the governor's desk?
I do not know. I'm not in Jeff. People might be surprised to know we do go to Jefferson City to testify on certain issues we work on, but we're not in Jefferson City lobbying.
You're not watching the tea leaves or reading the tea leaves.
My knowledge of the interior workings of Jefferson City legislation is less than people might guess.
Funny you say that because
I'm probably going to be fired off of this show now.
people whose job it is to know the inner workings of Jefferson City don't know how Jefferson City works.
Well, legislation is state capital in a county seat or in Washington D.C. is very convoluted.
Pretty interesting topic. Thanks for coming in. I think we should give tax cuts to all people who have gray hair.
Does my goatee count?
No. You're still a redhead.
It has to be on the top of your head. It's not gray facial hair.
David Stokes, when can we read you? When can we see you?
Well, you can see a lot of information on the arguments for and against tax cuts, mostly for, at Show Me Institute. Show Me Institute. We don't have a lot of writings out there.
Unless it's for renters, and then we're against it.
The gas. If you're looking for a tax that I would pretty much tomorrow support raising, the gas tax is one good example of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's David Stokes, Show Me Institute policy analyst. Always a pleasure. Thanks, buddy.
McGraw, talk to you soon.